Tonight, we gently enter a quiet old story from long ago. It is a story of family, of wishes whispered softly, and of blessings given with deep care. The story is called Isaac Blesses Jacob. We will walk slowly through the moments, listening carefully to each word, so we can feel the calm and weight of this tender time. There was a man named Isaac. He grew older, and his eyes were not as strong as before. His hands had become a little weaker too. Isaac lived in a cozy house, in a quiet land. Around him were hills soft and green, and the warm light of the sun made everything feel gentle and safe. Isaac had two sons. One was named Esau. He was strong and wild, a hunter who loved to roam the fields and forests. The other son was Jacob. Jacob was more quiet and stayed closer to home. The brothers were very different, but both were loved by their father. One day Isaac called for Esau. He asked him to prepare some food, his favorite kind, because Isaac wanted to give Esau a special blessing before he was no longer strong enough to do so. Blessings were very important. They were words filled with hope, care, and wishes for a good and peaceful future. Isaac's voice was soft but certain. He wanted Esau to bring him some venison, the meat of a deer, cooked just right. Then Isaac would give Esau his blessing. Blessings were like gentle prayers, spoken with love and thought. They shaped the path a person might take in life. But Esau was busy in the fields, hunting for the food his father had asked for. He moved swiftly through the trees, feeling the cool breeze on his face and the earthy smell of the forest all around him. Meanwhile, inside the house, Jacob was nearby, listening. He heard his father's words and knew that this moment was very special. The blessing would belong to Esau soon, and it would mean a great deal. Jacob's mother, Rebekah, was also there. She heard everything too, and she was thoughtful and quiet. She cared deeply for her sons and loved them each in her own way. Rebekah went to Jacob with a careful plan. She wanted Jacob to receive the blessing instead of Esau. She said calm words to Jacob, asking him to get some food for Isaac, the kind he liked best. She would help Jacob make the gift of food just right. Jacob listened carefully. His heart was full of mixed feelings, hope, worry, and a kind of gentle fear. He wondered what would happen if his father found out. Rebekah helped Jacob prepare the meal. She made it with soft hands, tenderly cooking the food. She dressed Jacob in the clothes of Esau, the older son, to make him seem like his brother. She even covered Jacob's hands and the smooth parts of his neck with the soft skins of young goats. She wanted to trick Isaac's touch, to feel that Jacob was really Esau, strong and hairy. When the food was ready, Jacob took it carefully to his father. Isaac was resting on his bed, the sunlight filtering in softly through the windows, making the room feel warm and peaceful. Jacob came near and said he was Esau, his older brother. Isaac's eyes were not as clear as before, but he listened carefully to Jacob's voice. Isaac asked gently, "Are you really Esau?" And Jacob replied quietly, "I am." Isaac reached out his hands to feel Jacob's arms. The skins fooled him, and he thought he was holding Esau's hands. The blessing was about to begin. Isaac spoke slowly, his voice deep and gentle. He said words that had been held in his heart for a long time. Blessings that were wishes for many good things. Plenty of grain, fresh water, strong fields, and respect from others. He called Jacob the master of his brothers, saying that people would bow down to him and his family line. As Isaac finished, he smelled the scent of the food and the clothes of Esau on Jacob. He was still unsure, and his voice showed a little doubt. But Isaac still gave his blessing fully, believing he was blessing his son Esau. After a short while, Esau came back from the fields. He was tired but happy, holding the venison he had hunted. He went straight to his father with eager hands, wanting the blessing he thought was just for him. Isaac's heart was slow with surprise. He felt the hands of Esau and heard his voice. The room quieted for a moment, filled with the soft sounds of breath and movement. Isaac realized the blessing had already been given to Jacob. There was a softness mixed with sadness in Isaac's voice as he spoke again, this time to Esau. He gave Esau a different blessing, one that hoped for wild strength and the open country to roam, but it was not the same as the first blessing. The brothers stood there, the light falling gently on their faces, each feeling the weight of what had passed. This moment was filled with quiet tension, yet it was also wrapped in the slow unfolding of a family's history. And so the story rests here, in the gentle shadows of an old room, where a father's blessing was shared in a way no one expected. The room still carries the soft echo of these tender words, and the land outside continues to breathe in peace. We will pause here, sitting softly with the story's quiet heart. The night holds these moments gently, as we prepare to listen more next time. A heavy silence hung in the room, thick as the fading sunlight slipping through the windows. Jacob, still cloaked in Esau's garments, stood uncertain, the adrenaline of deceit mixing with a strange, quiet dread. Isaac's eyes, clouded with age but failing to perceive the truth, had bestowed blessings meant for another. Outside, the world continued as it had, a world unaware of the tremors shaking one family's foundation. Esau's footsteps grew louder, uneven with exhaustion, rustling the dry leaves in the doorway. The warm scent of the meat Jacob had prepared filled the room, mingling uneasily with the tension that had settled. Esau entered, his face roughened by the sun, his breath still ragged from the hunt. He found Isaac seated, a different look in his eye, one that unsettled even the bravest soul. Esau said, each word guttural with hope and hesitation, "Come share the meal I have prepared, then bless me, that I may live and be honored as your son." The old man's gaze sharpened, recognition dawning too late. He looked upon Esau's open, earnest face and felt the sting of betrayal settle in his heart. "Who was it that came before you?" Isaac asked, voice trembling like the flicker of a candle in a draught. Jacob, struggling to meet his father's gaze, shifted awkwardly. "I am Esau, your firstborn," he whispered, though the lie tasted bitter on his tongue. Esau's eyes narrowed, disbelief warring with the flames of anger and hurt. "Did you trick me?" His voice cracked with the weight of loss and betrayal. Isaac's wizened hands, once steady with authority, now shook as he reached to embrace Esau. "I have blessed him, your brother, and in doing so sealed the future. I cannot take back what is spoken to the heavens." Esau's shoulders heaved in silent sobs, the weight of his lost birthright a heavy chain about his neck. Yet beneath despair, a fierce resolve glimmered. His spirit, wild and untamed like the lands he roamed, would not be broken. Jacob, too, was caught in a tidal wave of conflicting emotions. Relief washed over him for a moment. He had received the blessing, the promise of prosperity and favor, but it was swiftly drowned by a swell of guilt. Was this future truly his, forged by deceit? Or was it a path shadowed with sorrow and strife, where love might never fully dwell? The room seemed to contract around them, the fragile veil of family torn as though by a sudden storm. Rebecca, standing quietly in the background, her heart pounding and breath caught in her throat, watched the unfolding tragedy with heavy eyes. She longed to comfort both sons, yet the course she had set now felt like a thread unraveling. In the days that followed, the brothers drifted apart. Esau's fury simmered beneath a mask of calm. He hunted longer, roamed further from home, as if to outrun the sting of what had been lost. Jacob stayed close, burdened by silence, wrestling with fears that his brother's resentment would one day erupt, destroying whatever fragile bonds remained. Isaac, feeling the weight of his illness more keenly, grew quieter. His blessings, though spoken, lingered unresolved like notes in an unfinished song. He longed for peace, to see his family whole again before his time waned entirely. Rebecca, torn between her sons, found refuge only in prayer. In the deep stillness of night she pleaded for guidance, for healing to seep into the fractured hearts. Her love for both Jacob and Esau remained fierce and unyielding, yet the chasm between them felt vast and cold. Seasons shifted, and the brothers' lives carved different paths. Jacob, marked now by the blessing's shadow, ventured beyond the borders of their home. His journey took him over distant hills and through unfamiliar valleys, a wanderer seeking both refuge and purpose. Along the way he faced trials that tempered his spirit, teaching lessons far beyond the walls of his father's tent. Esau remained amidst the wild lands he loved, becoming a hunter and chief of his people. Time softened his wrath, but rarely did a day pass without the echo of lost inheritance haunting his thoughts. Yet, in the quiet moments, beneath the canvas of stars, memories of his family brought tears to his eyes, a tender ache for what might have been. In this unfolding story of loss and longing, of blessings tangled in human frailty, one truth remained unwavering. The formative fires of love and conflict shaped the course of lives, leaving marks in the soul's deepest chambers. Though the immediate wound between brothers grievous and raw, the passage of time held the promise of reconciliation somewhere over the horizon, where understanding might one day bloom like the desert flower after rain. And so the tale of Isaac, Rebekah, Esau, and Jacob entered a new chapter, not yet concluded, but forever imprinted on the heart's vast tapestry. Here, in the quiet end of this moment, the family stood on the edge of their fate, each path stretching forward, uncertain yet alive with possibility. In the soft hush of twilight, one could almost hear the whispered hope that even the deepest divisions might find healing in the fullness of time. Years passed. The seasons turned gently, unfurling their quiet rhythms over the hills and valleys that cradled the family's home. Isaac, now frail in body but steady in spirit, spent his days beneath the shade of an ancient oak tree. His eyes, dimmed with age, held a soft tenderness whenever he looked upon the land that had sheltered his lineage. Though the blessing remained unspoken anew, it rested firmly upon Jacob's shoulders, weaving itself into the fabric of his life like an unyielding thread. Jacob wrestled daily with the weight of his deception, the promise of prosperity and abundance that had come not through strength or honesty, but through cunning and disguise. The pang of guilt lingered quietly, a low hum beneath the surface of his success. Esau, meanwhile, wandered the wild places. His figure was often seen against the horizon's edge, a solitary silhouette moving swiftly amid swaying grasses and rugged cliffs. His heart was raw with the pain of loss, yet it pulsed with a fierce tenacity. The world beyond the home, with its untamed forests and whispering winds, became both his refuge and his companion. In his solitary hunts, Esau found moments of clarity, the night's silence soothing the restless ache, the crackle of firelight recalling memories of laughter and shared meals. Their mother Rebekah aged with the slow grace of the earth itself. Her hands, once so strong and certain, bore the soft lines of time and worry. Often she would sit by the fire in the quiet evenings, her eyes lifted to the heavens. In her heart, she carried a yearning for forgiveness, a fragile hope that the broken threads of her family might someday be woven back together. Her prayers rose like mist into the night sky, seeking the balm of reconciliation and peace. Isaac, sensing the approach of his final days, called his sons closer one mild afternoon. His voice, though gentle and thin, held unwavering authority as he gathered them beneath the great oak. The air was heavy with unspoken words, but Isaac's gaze fell first upon Jacob, then on Esau, as if drawing the two halves of his soul into one. "My sons," he said softly, "life's blessings are not always as we imagine them. They come not just from words spoken, but from the truth carried in the heart. Though times have been difficult, remember this: love remains the unbroken thread between us. Do not let anger and grief tear what is precious." Jacob, looking at his father, felt a swell of humility. The grasp of his guilt loosened, ever so slightly, beneath the warmth of Isaac's words. Esau, too, looked up, eyes glimmering with a vulnerable hope he had not dared show. In that moment, the silent distance between the brothers seemed to narrow, bridged by shared memory and the enduring love of their father. In the days that followed, the family moved slowly toward a fragile peace. Esau returned for brief visits, not with the bitter heart of before, but with cautious steps, seeking connection without pretense. Jacob, careful and steady, tried to shed the shadow of his past wrongs, showing kindness where before had been suspicion. Rebekah's prayers grew lighter, lifted by the tentative smiles and gentle words that now wove through their interactions. Isaac's breath grew shallow in the twilight of his life, but his spirit shone bright with the quiet assurance that his sons might one day heal the rift that had long divided them. On his final night, he called them once more beside him, his voice a soothing murmur in the stillness. "Remember, my children, that family is both a gift and a journey. Walk together when you can, find understanding in each other's hearts, and may love be your guide." Isaac passed from this world as the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and soft rose. In his passing, sorrow and gratitude mingled. The family faced their future changed, different yet bound still by the invisible threads of their shared story. Jacob continued his path, wiser now, his heart tempered by the lessons of humility and grace. He built a life marked by perseverance and kindness, seeking to honor his father's hope. Esau, too, found his way, moving between the wild and the warmth of family, embracing the fullness of life's challenges and joys. Rebekah's prayers, once whispered in solitude, softened into songs of thanksgiving. gentle melodies that filled the home with peace. And though the past could never be undone, the family learned to carry it with compassion, weaving every thread of hurt and healing into the tapestry of their lives. In time, the story of Isaac and his sons became a quiet testament to the enduring power of love to mend even the deepest divides. It was a story not only of blessing and loss, but of hope, a reminder that amid all human frailty, the heart holds light enough to guide us home. Time moved on, and the household, once marked by quiet tension, found a gentle rhythm. Each day brought the soft unfolding of new beginnings. In the mornings, when the light brushed through the window, it seemed to carry more than warmth. It whispered of healing. Jacob rose early, his thoughts often touching the past, but set firmly on the promise of the future. He tended the fields with a careful hand, mindful not only of the earth, but of the lessons his father had impressed upon him. Perseverance, humility, and the sacredness of unity filled his heart. Though his journey had been marked by shadows, he now walked with a steadier step, understanding that true strength lay in grace. Esau too found his place, not far from the wilds that had cradled him in solitude, but closer to the hearth where family awaited. His visits became more frequent, their moments together fewer words and more quiet presence. In the spaces between, old hurts softened like morning mist. He no longer bore his solitude as a shield alone, but shared his life, his laughter, and even silent remembrance with those who had once been distant. Rebekah, once burdened by sorrow, now moved through the household like a gentle breeze. Her prayers, once heavy with longing and pain, turned into melodies of gratitude. By the hearth she sang softly, small hymns that threaded through the walls, weaving peace where there had been unrest. Her presence was a balm, a reminder of enduring hope and the faith that family could mend. In these days, stories of the past took on new shape, not as echoes of division, but as cautious signposts guiding the way forward. Jacob and Esau spoke less of old grievances and more of shared dreams and the life they wished to build together. Slowly, laughter found its way back into the home, fragile but persistent, like the first shoots of spring through winter's thaw. Through seasons of work and rest, the brothers learned again to listen, to one another, to the earth, and to the quiet wisdom left by their father. They gathered grain, tended flocks, and shared meals, the acts of daily life becoming threads in a tapestry of restored kinship. Esau showed Jacob the skills needed to embrace the land's wildness, while Jacob taught Esau patience and the ways to nurture what was sown. Amid this gentle unfolding, Rebekah's aging hands found new purpose, stitching garments and tending the garden. Her eyes, once dimmed by worry, sparkled with renewed hope. Evening conversations often gathered around her soft voice, recalling the lessons of love and the power of forgiveness. It was as if the home itself breathed differently, attuned to a song older than time, a song of reconciliation. The memory of Isaac's final words lingered like a sacred charge. His blessing was not just a benediction but a calling, to walk together, bound not by past grievances but by the strength of shared love. In the quiet moments, both Jacob and Esau would feel the weight and lightness of this message, guiding their steps onward. As years slipped quietly by, the family expanded in both number and joy. New faces were welcomed, children who knew only the tender peace fashioned from a hard-won reconciliation. The land flourished under their care, mirroring the flourishing of their hearts. Blessings seemed to flow, not as sudden gifts but as gentle tides, steady and enduring. On calm evenings beneath a sky brushed with stars, Jacob and Esau would often sit side by side. Their past, though remembered, no longer defined the present. Instead, their shared stories were threads weaving deeper understanding, binding them inextricably as brothers not only by blood, but by choice. Rebekah's songs became legacy, carrying on in the voices of the young ones, teaching that healing was possible, even after deep wounds. They taught that love, when carefully tended, could reshape history itself. Her life, once marked by sorrow, ended in peaceful gratitude, her spirit resting amid the home she had helped to heal. The family story, whispered from one generation to the next, became a quiet testament to the power of compassion and the endless capacity of the human heart to forgive. It spoke of resilience, not the loud triumph of conquest, but the gentle, steadfast victory of humility. In the end, Isaac's blessing was fulfilled not in grand gestures, but in simple acts of care, in the shared smile of brothers at peace, and in the warmth that radiated from a home built anew. This was the true inheritance, a living testament that even amidst human frailty, love could prevail and guide the way. As the sun set gently over the hills, the family gathered once more, their voices rising in soft song, harmonizing with the whispering winds. It was a song of hope, of unity, and of the timeless journey toward belonging. And in that sacred quiet, with hearts knit close, they walked forward together, forever bound by love's enduring light. Seasons flowed softly over the land, each one a tender thread, weaving the family closer together. Isaac watched the gentle transformation with quiet pride. The household, once marked by tension and rivalry, now hummed with harmonious daily rhythms. Mornings were bright with the sound of children's laughter weaving through the kitchen as Rebecca prepared fresh bread, her hands steady and sure, a smile rippling with peace. Jacob and Esau moved through the fields with a new kind of strength, one built not on dominance, but on collaboration. It was harvest time again. They worked side by side, their efforts mirroring the endless cycle of the earth's gentle yielding. Esau's hands, calloused from tracking and hunting, were steadier now. Jacob's thoughtful touch, sown with patience, encouraged the small green sprouts toward ripeness. At dusk, when the sun dipped low, casting amber light over the vine-draped porch, the brothers shared their plans and dreams. Esau laid down tales of faraway paths and distant lands, while Jacob spoke softly of the future, their future. Each word carried trust, each glance a bridge over days once shadowed by misunderstanding. Rebecca's eyes shone with quiet joy. She had seen the walls between her sons crumble, replaced by foundations built of understanding. Her songs, once tinged with sorrow, were now melodies of hope and healing, passed gently to the youngest by the hearth's fire. Her lessons, shared in soft murmurs, taught kindness is power, how it could bend even the hardest of hearts. Isaac, now older but steadfast, felt the weight of his blessing settling within the family like a soft mantle. It was fulfilled not through grand gestures, but through countless small acts, a careful word, a helping hand, a shared meal. The blessing was alive in every moment of peace, every hand held in forgiveness, every smile offered in love. The children grew up surrounded by this calm. They learned from their parents, from the land, from the soft wisdom rippling through the family's daily life. They played where golden fields met quiet streams, their laughter a song woven into the fabric of the earth itself. Their bonds, seated by their fathers and nurtured by their mother, promised a future ripe with possibility. One evening, beneath a sky pricked with stars, Isaac gathered his sons once more. His voice, gentle and low, carried the weight of years, but also the lightness of a hopeful heart. "Remember," he said, "that strength lies not in power alone, but in the love you share. Let this house be forever a place where peace lives, where every heart is heard, and every child can dream." Jacob and Esau nodded, their eyes meeting with a quiet understanding that needed no words. It was a promise renewed, a promise that the past would no longer chain them, but guide them toward a horizon where family was their greatest treasure. Rebecca, seated nearby, reached out to both her sons, her hands weaving warmth between them. Her voice rose in a soft chant, a melody older than the hills, speaking of healing and the endless hope that blossoms from forgiveness. The song wrapped the family in its tender embrace, a lullaby for the years to come. As the night deepened, the home settled into gentle stillness. Outside, the wind whispered through ripening olive branches, carrying the quiet strength of a family made whole. Isaac's blessing had blossomed fully, rooted not just in ancient words, but in the daily acts of love and understanding that sustained them. The land, too, thrived with this renewed spirit. The vineyards stretched lush and full, the fields bent heavy with grain. The simple beauty of nature mirrored the beauty growing within the family, a testament to resilience, to the healing that time and forgiveness could bring. Together they walked forward, side by side, heart to heart, into days bright with promise. Their story, once shadowed by conflict, had become a gentle song of redemption and care, a quiet celebration of bonds renewed and joy reclaimed. And so beneath the endless sky, with stars as their witnesses, Isaac's family lived in the enduring light of love, their lives a soft harmony of peace and hope, carried gently through all the seasons yet to come. The sun hung low beyond the hills, its golden light streaming softly through the trees, touching everything with a gentle glow. The fields yet bore the echoes of labor, the earth still warm from the day's work. In the quiet moments, the family gathered beneath the shade of an ancient oak, a place chosen not by accident, but by the instinct for peace. Isaac sat with a calm that came not from the absence of struggle, but from the presence of understanding. His hands, worn yet steady, rested gently upon his lap. Around him the children played softly, their laughter a melody woven into the gentle hum of the evening breeze. Jacob, having embraced the fullness of his blessing anew, spoke in measured tones, his voice carrying the weight of renewed purpose. "Father, in these days I have seen what it means to carry the blessing, not as a treasure to guard jealously, but as a light to share." Esau nodded beside him, a calmness in his eyes that had grown from the soil of forgiveness. "We are different, yes," he said, "but in our unity we find strength. No longer do we compete for Father's favor, we walk as brothers, each step lighter from the burden lifted." Rebekah, seated nearby, watched them with a quiet smile. Her heart no longer tightened with the tension of old fears, but swelled with a hope nourished by their healing. "The bread I baked this morning," she began softly, "carries more than grain and water. It carries the essence of this home, nurture, kindness, and the promise that no wound is beyond repair." The children responded with curious eyes, their small hands reaching for the warm loaves. The peaceful sharing was a ritual more profound than any spoken word. Isaac's voice then rose gently, addressing his sons. "I once sought to name the future by the weight of birthright, by the craft of cunning. Now I see the strength of the heart, the power of mercy that binds us all. This blessing I gave was never just for one, to hold it closely is to risk loneliness. Instead, let it be the song we all sing together." As twilight deepened, the family leaned into one another's presence, a tapestry mended by time and tears. The cool air carried the scent of drying grass and softened petals, the earth itself seeming to breathe in harmony. Jacob lifted his hand, eyes bright with conviction. "Let us make a vow," he suggested, "not just to forgive the past, but to build upon it, to teach the young ones the value of compassion over pride, of listening over speaking." Esau reached out and clasped his brother's hand firmly. "With this vow, we not only transform our story, but light the path for those who follow." Rebekah hummed a melody, the healing chant that had become a lullaby for the household, its gentle rhythm wrapped around them all, a reminder that hope was real, persistent, and alive. Isaac closed his eyes briefly, feeling the pulse of its truth, then spoke once more. "The blessing I give now is this: may love be your strength, and peace your guide. May the soil nourish your hands, and the stars watch kindly over your dreams." Night crept quietly across the land, the sky unfurling its velvet cloak, sprinkled with distant fires of light. The family huddled close, the contrast between their past struggles and present serenity lining their faces like an ancient map of growth. In the stillness, the trees whispered old songs, and the earth held fast to the secrets of reconciliation. The land thrived not only by crops and rain, but by the gentle rhythms of forgiveness woven deep within the hearts of those who walked upon it. Under the watchful eyes of the heavens, Isaac's family found rest, not from toil alone, but from the blessing of unity achieved through patience, understanding, and boundless grace. The story of their journey was not one of perfection, but one of continual becoming. The light of a single candle may flicker, but when joined with others, they burn steady and warm, casting away shadows and fear. As the quiet night enfolded them, each soul carried the quiet assurance that blessings, once thought lost or earned by strength alone, were truly found in the strength of love shared and hearts mended. And so, beneath the endless sky, with the earth beneath and the stars above, the family dreamed softly of tomorrow's promise, their story a gentle wind weaving through time, a story of redemption, written not in words alone, but in the tender, unyielding bond of family. Night deepened around the family's shelter like a comforting blanket, the stars beyond shimmering faintly, whispering secrets of the vastness. Isaac's voice softened to a murmur as he shared his final thoughts, eyes reflecting the flickering firelight. "Remember," he said, "the blessing is a living gift. It grows through your actions, your kindness, your willingness to heal old wounds. It is not the right of one, but the hope for all." Jacob and Esau sat closely now, their shoulders almost touching, the weight of former rivalry lifted between them. Their hands remained clasped, a silent oath that spoke far more than words ever could. There was no rush to speak, no need to fill the sacred quiet. It was enough to simply be together, united by a love rediscovered. Rebekah's lullaby, woven from her healing chant, drifted softly on the night air, a tender embrace for weary hearts. Each note seemed to cradle promises of renewal, reminding them all that wounds, no matter how deep, could mend with time and care. The fragrance of baking bread lingered in the coolness, an echo of warmth and nurturance that had woven them into a whole once again. As the embers smoldered low, Isaac's gaze turned upward, tracing the constellations that had carried their ancestors' footsteps. "Our journey is not finished," he whispered. "We stand at a crossroads, not as rivals, but as bearers of hope. What we choose now will echo through those who follow." Jacob's eyes brightened with newfound purpose. "I will teach what I have learned," he pledged quietly, "that strength lies not in possession, but in generosity, that listening can heal where words alone fail, that forgiveness is the door to peace." Esau squeezed his brother's hand in agreement, his voice calm and certain. "Together we will walk a path that honors our family story, in all its hardship and grace." The fire dwindled to a soft glow. Isaac, the patriarch whose intentions had once sown discord, now embraced a vision of unity. His blessing had transformed, not a curse of division, but a seed planted in fertile soil. The night's stillness deepened, a sacred pause pregnant with potential. In their individual hearts, each one felt a stirring, a beginning rather than an end. Rebekah, watching her sons, felt peace settle over her. She saw the faces of the generations who would come after, shaped by this moment of reconciliation. Her fingers absent-mindedly traced the lines of the fragrant bread she had baked, the symbol of their shared healing. Soft breaths filled the quiet room as sleep finally claimed them all. Dreams came, gentle and hopeful, weaving visions of a future where love was the foundation, not fear or favoritism. Beyond the walls of their simple shelter, the world whispered on, vast and unchanging. Yet inside, a new chapter had begun, one written carefully word by word, with compassion as its ink. In mornings yet to dawn, the family would rise to face challenges anew, but they would do so strengthened by this night of grace. And so, under the watchful gaze of distant stars, Isaac's blessings settled into their bones, not a burden but a beacon, guiding their steps beyond rivalry, toward a horizon filled with shared light and possibility. The story, far from over, breathed on through the quiet hours, a testament to the enduring power of love's renewal. The house settled into a quiet stillness as the embers in the hearth flickered low, casting a warm amber glow along the walls. Outside, the night sky stretched wide, a dark canvas scattered with gentle stars, brilliant and patient witnesses to all that had unfolded within. Isaac sat back, the weight of his years resting comfortably in his bones, yet a profound lightness stirred in his heart, a soft renewal born from forgiveness and hope. His eyes wandered to his children, Jacob and Esau, who now sat side by side, their earlier rivalry softened into a bond difficult to describe but deeply felt. Neither spoke. Words felt too fragile to carry what they now shared. Instead, they watched the flames dance, aware that this night marked not an end, but a threshold. The brotherhood they reclaimed was a gift far greater than any inherited wealth or privilege. Rebekah remained by the doorway, her arms folded gently, a protective guardian of the fragile peace. The warmth of her presence seemed to anchor everyone, as if her steady heart beat in quiet rhythm with their own. Her eyes shone with unshed tears, not of sorrow, but of a profound, tender joy. She knew the road ahead would not be without challenges, yet this moment offered a glimpse of what family could truly become, a sanctuary for healing, for growth, and for love unmeasured by past grievances. Isaac's mind returned to the blessing he had given, a living thing now carrying its own breath beyond his voice. It was not merely a spoken word, but a seed planted with care, meant to grow into actions and choices that aligned with the spirit of compassion he intended. "Let this blessing," he had said, "be the thread that weaves your lives together, guiding you through shadows and light alike." As his fingers lightly traced the worn surface of his staff, the patriarch allowed himself to feel the unexpected grace of humility, not as weakness, but as strength. Forged through years of understanding. What had once been stubbornness, pride, and division was now softened by acceptance and a new commitment to unity. Jacob turned slowly toward Esau and reached for his hand once more, this time entwining fingers in quiet solidarity. There was no rush now, no need to prove or claim. Instead, they began to share the stories of their journeys, tales of hardship, moments of silence, and choices made in both fear and courage. Each revelation knit them closer, revealing common ground beneath the surface of their differences. Esau's voice was steady and calm as he spoke of the wild places he had wandered, the lessons learned beneath open skies and in the company of the wind. He spoke not as a rival, but as someone now eager to bear witness to Jacob's path. Jacob, careful and reflective, shared his moments of doubt and discovery, of the unexpected kindness offered by strangers, and the quiet strength found within himself. Rebekah moved forward softly, offering freshly baked bread, wrapped in a cloth fragrant with herbs. She passed it between the two brothers, as if distributing more than mere sustenance, a tangible symbol of nurturing and shared life. The bread was warm and familiar, reminding them that some blessings were simple, daily acts of care. Isaac's voice, when he finally spoke again, was low and measured, a soothing thread in the hush of night. "This is the beginning," he said, "not an ending. Your journey together, filled with understanding and grace, will write the story that those who come after you will read. Live it not in pride, but in the quiet strength of forgiveness." There was a gentle shift in the atmosphere, a deep exhalation, as if the very walls breathed relief and hope. Outside, the moon rose higher, its silver light spilling through the windows, blessing the faces that turned upward to receive it. Rebekah closed her eyes for a moment and began to sing, a melody simple and pure. Her voice wove through the room like a balm, each note rising and falling gently, touching hearts and quieting restless thoughts. The lullaby was not meant for children alone, but for all who longed to rest in the refuge of belonging. Isaac leaned back, listening to the song and watching his family, his legacy no longer defined by contention, but shaped by shared grace. He thought of the years behind him and those yet to come. He knew the path would still twist and turn. Old wounds did not vanish overnight, but the light kindled this night would be a steady guide. In the shadows of the corners, the grandchildren slept, their dreams unaware of the historic healing unfolding around them. Yet Rebekah dreamed for them, of lives marked by generosity, kindness echoing louder than bitterness, and a family bound by love stronger than any claim to privilege. Outside, the cool breeze whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of earth and promise. Isaac felt it touch his skin like a gentle assurance that the blessing he had given was now carried on the breath of the night itself. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply, surrendering to the peace of this sacred moment. Tomorrow would come with its tasks and challenges, but tonight, hope was enough. Tonight, the family dreamed together, united not by inheritance alone, but by a love that refused to be broken. The stars continued to shine, constant, quiet witnesses to a new beginning born beneath their watchful gaze. And Isaac, with a heart both heavy and light, lay down to rest, confident that the blessing would guide them all through every shadow and into every dawn. In the quiet hush of the night, Isaac's breathing slowed, deep and even, as if the very peace he had woven into his blessing wrapped around him like a soft cloak. The gentle flicker of the oil lamp cast long shadows on the walls, reflections of a family transformed in spirit and heart. Outside, the breeze whispered softly through the olive trees, a tender lullaby from the earth itself, humbling and soothing all who listened. Jacob and Esau, seated side by side on soft cushions near the hearth, exchanged glances still heavy with recent history, yet lightened by newfound understanding. Their hands, once tense and guarded, now rested casually together, an unspoken promise that this night marked a turning point. Each had tasted the bitterness of division, and now, savoring the sweetness of forgiveness, they felt something precious reborn, brotherhood renewed not merely by blood, but by choice and grace. Esau's voice, rough and warm like the mountain wind he'd known in his travels, broke the comfortable silence. It was out there, beneath endless sky and heavy storms, that I learned to carry more than my own burdens. The wilderness does not forgive, but it teaches. I wished once to escape all ties, but tonight, beside you, I see those ties were never chains. They were lifelines. Jacob nodded slowly, a gentle smile touching his lips. And I, in my moments of doubt, found kindness from unexpected hands. It was never too late to be lifted, or to lift others. Our journeys may have been separate, but they have led us here, to each other. Rebecca, quietly threading her fingers through an embroidered cloth, felt her heart swell. The bread she had brought, humble, warm, fragrant with the touch of herbs, had become more than food. It was a symbol of nurture, of carrying on the essence of family through simple acts. She passed a piece to each of them, eyes shining, her voice soft and steady. This bread holds the taste of earth and hope. May it remind us that nourishment comes in many forms, and healing is sometimes as simple as breaking bread together. Isaac reached out to touch her hand, a comfort and acknowledgement passing between them. Our past, hard as the rock underfoot, now softens beneath the promise of tomorrow, he murmured. We stand at the edge of a dawn where every quarrel finds its peace, and every wound begins to heal. This blessing, this moment, is a seed planted in the soil of forgiveness. The children, their eyelids fluttering as sleep took hold, lay cradled in the warmth of the household. Unaware of the depth of reconciliation that had unfolded during these quiet hours, they dreamed dreams untouched by sorrow. Their innocence, like the moonlight weaving silver threads through the window, was a pure thread in the tapestry of the family's future. Rebecca's lullaby, gentle as a breeze through vines, filled the space with comfort. Her voice hummed softly, carrying a mother's care and a wife's quiet strength. With every note, it sealed a promise that no matter the challenges ahead, this home would remain a sanctuary of kindness and belonging. Isaac's eyes, lifted toward the ceiling, reflected a lifetime of lessons learned, the pride of youth softened by humility, the bitterness replaced by gratitude. He knew well that challenges would come again. No family was untouched by hardship forever. Yet he also carried the serene confidence born of this night's blessing. The legacy he hoped to leave was not wealth, land, or even name alone, but the enduring truth that love could bridge the deepest divides. The gentle breeze rose once more, curious and calm, threading through open windows and across sleeping faces. It carried with it the scent of jasmine and earth, of past sorrows left behind and futures yet to bloom. This breath of the night held promise, not just for the family gathered close, but for all who would walk in their footsteps, inheriting the quiet strength of unity and grace. As dawn's first pale light crept across the horizon, soft streaks of gold and rose painting the sky, Isaac felt the weight of years slip away. In these fragile moments before the world awoke, he rested with the deepest peace. The blessing had taken root. Its gentle power would guide them through shadowed valleys and bright hills alike. In the tender silence, Jacob and Esau lay wrapped in a rare stillness. Their hearts beat quietly in time, a rhythm echoing with the shared quiet joy of reconciliation. The sun would rise soon, but in this moment there was only the calm certainty of love, a steady flame against all darkness. And so a family once divided by fear and pride found itself bound again, not by rules or roles, but by the softer ties of understanding, kindness, and a blessing carried softly home. With that, Isaac's spirit drifted easily, resting in the peace that can only come when love chooses to lead. The morning sun, tender and slow, filtered through the window panes, casting gentle patterns across the room. Isaac sat quietly, his hands resting on his lap, feeling warmth not only from the light, but from the presence that now seemed to envelop the space around him. The years of hardship, the moments of fear and regret, they all softened, as if the weight had been lifted from his shoulders at last. Jacob stood nearby, his eyes steady and calm. He glanced once at Esau, whose gaze was fixed beyond the horizon, yet softened with a newfound understanding. There was no rush to speak. The room was filled with a sacred silence, the kind that holds space for healing and grows from it. Rebecca moved gently, tending to a small fire that warmed the chamber. She placed a bowl of cool water on the nearby table and folded a cloth with a tender touch, as if preparing the house for peace's quiet arrival. The little ones, still hidden beneath blankets, dreamed of a world gentler than their waking path had known. Isaac's fingers traced the edge of the worn table before him, each groove a memory, each scar a story. He thought of the years his voice had carried blessings, spoken prayers for strength, for courage, for unity. Now, the blessing blossomed quietly in the heart sitting close, almost without words. Jacob's voice, soft and steady, broke the quiet. "Father," he said, "may this blessing carry us through all seasons, through joy and trials, until we understand what it truly means to carry one another." Esau nodded, the shadows beneath his eyes lightening. "I once thought strength meant standing alone, but now I know it is standing together." Rebekah's eyes glimmered with unshed tears, lips curving into a gentle smile. "Let our home be the place where wounds find light, where silence turns to song, where the hearth burns with kindness." Isaac looked from one to the other, his heart full. "May you both be as branches from the same tree, different yet rooted in the same earth, reaching upward but never forgetting the soil that holds you." Outside, the soft murmur of the wind through olive leaves seemed to echo this promise, steadfast, serene. Time, it seemed, took a breath. The tension that had once threatened to split the family now dissolved into the quiet rhythm of acceptance. Esau reached out, his hand steady, meeting Jacob's, as they closed the space that had once divided them. Rebekah's lullaby softened again, a tender melody that wove through the room like a comforting embrace. It was a promise spoken in song, that no matter the journey, there would always be a haven here, in the fold of family. Isaac closed his eyes for a moment and felt the pulse of generations behind and before him, each heart beating in unison with this newfound peace. He thought of all the blessings yet to come, blessings spoken and unspoken, that would ripple through time. As the sun rose higher, its light warmed the faces turned toward it. There were no words needed now. Eyes said what hearts already knew. The past no longer bound them in chains, but stood as a solid foundation upon which they could build anew. Jacob and Esau, children once divided by fear and misunderstanding, now moved with the steady purpose of brothers, their steps aligned beneath the morning light. Rebekah reached out, fingers weaving through the tapestry of their lives, a silent prayer for each thread to stay strong, stretching beyond hurt, embracing hope. Isaac breathed in deeply, the scent of earth and jasmine mingling with the warmth of the day. His heart was full, not with the weight of regret, but with the quiet joy of a love that had, finally, gone deeper than any strife. The blessing given was more than words. It was a soft seed beneath the soil, waiting for roots to take hold and branches to stretch toward the sky. And so the day unfolded, gentle and sure. The family moved within it, guided by kindness, tethered by love's gentle ties that would not be broken. Peace settled softly around them, as a veil woven from hope and grace, wrapping the past in quiet forgiveness and opening the way for every tomorrow to be a step toward understanding. Isaac's spirit, like the morning light, rested peacefully within them, his blessing already taking root, strong and steady, beneath the ever-growing tree of family. Night had folded softly around the house. The glow of the hearth cast gentle shadows along the walls, dancing quietly as the flames whispered their eternal song. Isaac sat back, feeling the worn wood beneath him, the steady breath of the room. His heart, once heavy with the weight of years and regrets, now carried a calmness as deep as the earth itself. Outside, the olive branches murmured with the night breeze, their leaves brushing against one another like whispered promises. The ancient tree in the courtyard stood as a silent witness, rooted, steady, and alive, much like the family gathered within. Jacob lingered near the window, hands folded in thought. He traced the path of stars, silent guides in the dark tapestry above. His mind held the prayer he had offered, words wrapped in humility and hope. He felt the strength not from conquest or guile, but from love earned and given freely. The trials behind them had etched lines in the story of their family, but these were softened now, like stones smoothed by the river's quiet care. Esau, seated beside his father, let his gaze fall upon the brothers' hands. The warmth between them was not born from what was taken or lost, but from what was mended. His earlier anger had found no home here anymore. Instead, there was understanding, an acceptance of the tangled paths that had led to this moment. Rebekah moved gently across the room, her presence a balm of kindness. Her hands rested briefly on the backs of her sons as a mother's steady affirmation. The lullaby she had sung still echoed softly in the corners of the house, a song promising safety and rest, a refuge beyond pain or anger. Isaac rose quietly and gathered both sons close to him. His voice was steady but tender as he spoke, not as a father commanding, but as a man who knew the fragility of life and the strength found in unity. "You are as branches from one tree," he said. "Each grows in its own way, stretching toward the light. Though your paths have been different, your roots are intertwined beneath the surface, holding fast to the same sacred earth. There was silence for a heartbeat, the kind that holds infinite understanding. Jacob met Esau's gaze again. In that look, the years of rivalry stripped away. There was only brotherhood. The house, once filled with tension and guarded distance, now resonated with the soft pulse of reconciliation. Esau smiled, a quiet, heartfelt expression that spoke of forgiveness and new beginnings. Together, he said simply, "We will face whatever the future holds." Rebekah watched this quietly, her heart a mosaic of relief and gratitude. She stepped to the table and brought forward a loaf of bread, breaking it in two, each piece given with a mother's loving intent. This act, simple and profound, sealed the harmony within the home. Isaac's gaze drifted to the small flame nestled in the hearth. He was reminded of the blessings he had once sought with urgency, the blessings of fruitfulness and fortune. Now he saw a richer grace, a blessing not counted in possessions, but in the forgiveness that had healed old wounds. A soft wind stirred the curtains, as if the night itself sighed in contentment. The family gathered closer, the embrace of shared warmth wrapping around them like a sacred cloak. In the quiet that settled, Isaac's voice lowered to a gentle murmur, the closing words of a blessing for all who would hear the story through the ages. May your days be long upon the earth. May kindness guide your hearts and peace dwell within your walls. And may you always find strength in one another, as the branches find support in the mighty tree. The night deepened. Outside, stars wheeled tirelessly, ancient lights bearing witness. Inside, the family rested, united at last not by circumstance but by choice, a choice to love beyond past mistakes, to live in the grace of a new dawn. And so, the story closes softly, leaving behind a promise whispered through generations, that even through storms and struggles, the power of forgiveness and unity will light the way home.